Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, and there is a non-denominational retreat weekend at the Resolution Center of Jacksonville, Florida. This will be a time of support and renewal for parents and grandparents on the journey of parental alienation. Standing strong in resilience, paving the way for good health and a great future. This will take place on April 22nd through the 24th. 2022. And I will leave all these notes in with the podcast notes. I welcome back Mark Andrews. He is applying for candidacy for the U.S. Congress 9th District, San Joaquin Valley. And his slogan is Future Forward Together. And he will be running as an independent. And I totally welcome my friend Mark Andrews to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Marianne. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time on your show.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I'm very interested in to hear what you have to say.
well, I mean, I did this as part of what we've been talking about over different interviews with you and other people in the movement, just in the family law area. We need to have one of our own in there, a regular person who's, dealt with the system, is not there, as a lawyer who can't make it or a judge who can't be a judge. We need to have somebody who's going to sit there and represent us at the table. Because if we keep letting these lawyers and failed judges and stuff become politicians that make laws to protect themselves, we're not going to get anywhere. So as you said, my campaign slogan is Future Forward Together. I'm running for the 9th Congressional District in the San Joaquin Valley. That's in the greater Stockton area. I'm a candidate that I believe by the people and for the people. I don't believe in taking any corporate money that's countermands anything to do with, representing my constituency. Example, I won't be taking big pharma money because I'm assuming that I'm going to have a bunch of elderly voters in my district, and all of them, I would assume safely, that they don't want higher drug prices.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you vote to lower drug prices when you're taking money from the drug companies?
Mm-hmm.
You can't. So I've often leaned Democratic, but I understand that actual conservative Republican talking points need to be discussed and considered, because I'm not just running to, represent the people that vote for me. I'm running to represent the entire constituency of my district. And that will be Republicans, that will be independents, that will be white, black, Asian, Muslim, Christian, all of them. And we all need to have a seat at the table, because this is America. I was telling you earlier before we got on, air here, that I saw Toby Mac last night in Sacramento, and his band's called Diverse City. And that's a great example of what America is.
Mm-hmm.
America is a diverse city. From coast to coast and border to border, we are a melting pot of the entire world. You can't just try to make it 1950s white America anymore. I'm sorry, that's not going to fly. We've grown into a bigger and better country. We've had great leaders come in like John Lewis and Martin Luther King that have spoken up for those in the community that didn't have a voice. They've raised civil rights issues. And these are things that need to be considered for all members of America. So we were talking earlier, one of my platforms, and was something I think you're very passionate about as well, is we want to work on a family law bill of rights. We want to get that to be a bill to go through the House and the Senate, because so many people I found, I'm out here on the West Coast. My podcast, I Am the Storm, is about to be running soon. And with that, I found that I talk to people from all across the country. You're in Pennsylvania. I talked to Eric Carroll down in Georgia. I got people down in Texas, New Jersey, Washington, all over. We're all going through the same thing. And what do we all have in common in family law?
Mm-hmm.
We all have the Title 4D funding that the federal government pays to each district, to each community, to help them implement laws and enforce laws against families.
Mhm.
And one of the big drawbacks to this has been they get serious bonuses for removing children through CPS, finding them foster parents. And the big one is that when they adopt them out after a 2-year period. Um, I'm of the mind that America was grown on the stability of the American family. And the current law, the Bradley Act, um, guts that um, inadvertently. The Bradley Act in and of itself was something to make accountable fathers who weren't married to the mothers and thought they could walk away and go live their life and the government would end up paying for their kids. And they said, no, Dad, you get over here at the table and you got to pay your fair share. This is your kid too. And that was a good thing.
Mhm.
And then you got lawyers that ended up being politicians. And I mean, this goes, Hillary Clinton is a former lawyer and she was part of it. Yeah, Bradley was a governor. They found out that, well, if we get them into court as lawyers and we keep them fighting all the time and we can break this up, we can keep getting funding.
Mhm.
And I think that's sick
It
to
is
keep
sick.
someone fighting just for your financial benefit.
Mm.
That's just wrong. And it gets to the point where there's, cases like yours, there's judicial issues, cases like mine where I found a judge altering case records. I mean, there's no doubt. I posted the evidence online. There isn't a single person that will argue with me that it's valid, yet judges have immunity?
Mhm.
Really?
Right.
I was speaking with your friend Barbara. You had me call up a lawyer out in Florida. Her name is Barbara, and we're talking, and I had to agree with her point. Where is it codified that judges get immunity? It
Definitely.
isn't. They
Right.
made it up for themselves, and then they all protect each other. It's like having a wolf discipline the wolf for guarding the hen house, and he's got feathers on his lips. It's not going to happen until we, the people, change some of these laws. And
Mm.
that's where the Family Law Bill of Rights comes in. We're going to have a basic set of rules and a law that says everybody in America, when going into a family court, shouldn't have to go through what we parents have gone through for the last 20, almost 30 years.
Mhm.
There will need to be judicial accountability. There will need to be I understand the basic immunity that they give a judge, the qualified immunity, and
Mhm.
that immunity in and of itself, to make a reasonable mistake that could be appealed. But you got judges turn around and goes, well, do what you want. You're setting up for the appeal, right? Meaning they know they're doing something contrary to law and they don't care because they get $180,000 a year and they sleep really well.
Mhm.
While you, I, and every other Tom, Dick, and Harry in the public, we got to go to work, make a living, study law, find out about our case, find a way to either write the paper ourselves if we can't afford someone or pay somebody an exorbitant amount of money to write a decent paper, go into court, and then you hear, oh, well, I have judicial discretion. Too bad. You can appeal it if you want.
Mm.
That don't get a voice in this are the children, and they're the ones that are hurt from it the most.
Mhm.
And
Most
that's
definitely.
something we have to change. And I want to be a candidate that stands up for the children and for the families, not just of the San Joaquin Valley, but of the United States.
Mhm.
And speaking of the San Joaquin Valley, I heard in this morning's news that the federal government is denying the San Joaquin Valley water for the crops. Now, you like your planters nuts and
Mhm.
different agricultural crops, avocados, things like that. That's all grown up and down the I-5 from Stockton to Fresno and down toward LA. All that goes up because they have to make smaller crops because they don't have the water. Why aren't we finding a way as a federal government to help our farmers, to
Mhm.
help these, American businesses make products that we can sell and export at a
Mhm.
fair market value? It's wrong.
It
And
is.
again, this is another platform, especially in the San Joaquin Valley, where you need a candidate I'm not going to stand on the Democratic position. I'm not going to stand on the Republican position. I'm going to stand on the constituency position. You know,
Mhm.
it's just reasonable and it's right. How do you feel about those things, Marianne?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think denying, San Joaquin Valley the water that they need for their crops, I think that's, uh, I think that's criminal.
At this point, I mean, it should be. I know for years, because I go down to see my folks down in south of LA, I always go up and down the 5 corridor, the 99, and you always see signs about, the farmers can't get water. Farmers can't get water. Why not? We could find a way to get everything else here. Why can't we get water here? Why can't we help these farmers produce what our country needs at a
Mm,
fair price?
mhm. It's gotta be done. There's, 20 ways to skin a cat. Somebody's gotta come up with something.
Yeah, I mean, we've got an East Coast like where you are, where there's always snow, ice, and what we can't channel some of that toward the West Coast and, you know, water wise to
Mhm,
get these crops going. I mean, I'm sure it would cost a pretty penny, but then again, we just ran up another $1 trillion in debt with the previous administration giving a tax break to the 1%. And now we've got the middle class suffering under the gas prices. I
mhm.
mean, how much can we take? How much can you raise the minimum wage till a business owner can't afford to be in business?
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm a successful small business owner, but I also, because of this, I'm every employee in my company. I'm the janitor, I'm the secretary, I'm the CEO, I'm the worker. I mean, it's great when you want to tell your boss off because I'll never get fired, but
Mhm.
I also,
Right.
I, I've, I'm constantly working, and it would be nice to be able to build bigger and better when I can afford to. So,
Mhm,
other things we're talking about in this candidacy is the January 6th insurrection.
mhm,
I'm of a clear mind that any member of the House, Senate, or the government that participated or was supporting this insurrection, you're treasonous. You're done. You need to be impeached from your position, and need not work in government anymore. By thine own actions, thy membership has been revoked.
mhm.
You know, it's just wrong. And the previous administration and one of the two parties has just sat to divide people across this country. We were saying earlier with the family thing, it's diverse city. It's white, it's black, it's brown. Heck, we got orange now,
Mhm,
you know? Um, we are a melting pot of the world, and we have to represent that not only in government, but in our towns, in our churches, across the board. And I also believe Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader, he needs to, at the very least at this point, be censured for his comment that Black people vote as much as Americans. Mitch,
mhm.
Black people are Americans. They are.
Yes, everyone is Americans. Right.
That's right. I mean, yeah, you had a previous administration which says, I alone can fix it. And he forgets, I'll use a football analogy is the best way I describe this. Tom Brady is considered the greatest quarterback of all time in football. And, America's one of their biggest pastimes is football. We all show up at the stadium for our team. But could Tom Brady be number one, be the greatest of all time, if he didn't have Danny Amendola, if he didn't
Mhm,
have Julian Edelman, if he didn't have Rob Gronkowski, if he didn't have those 300-pound guys protecting him from the other team, if he didn't have a defense on the other side that protected his scores so that they could win the game? That's how Tom became the greatest of all time, became number one, because he had a great team.
mhm,
And America is a team. It's not a Republican. It's not a Democrat. It's all of us.
mhm.
And we need to unite the country back. When the World Trade Centers were hit in 9/11, did anyone care if the person standing next to you was a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew? white or black. No, they were all running in there to save American lives.
Mhm.
It was they attacked us.
Mhm.
And we've gotten so far away from that because of corporate greed and political ideology in the party system. I mean, even now,
Mhm.
can you believe that a US president I'm sorry, a former US president got on air and said, hey, Putin's a genius. He's going to be a peacekeeper. I never thought I would see that in my lifetime, where one of our own would back Russian aggression, much
Mhm.
less Russian talking points.
Mhm.
That's more than anti-American, and it's horrible. And these are the things we need to change.
Mhm. Yeah, so it
I mean,
changing
how
the way of thinking, you know?
right, and it takes people stepping up one at a time in finding a commonality in what we're doing. I mean, out here on the West Coast, another platform I'm working on is the fire prevention. You guys on the East Coast
Mhm.
get more the storms and things. We out here on the West Coast get the earthquakes and the fires. I personally was displaced by the Tubbs fire, lost my home and my office.
Mm.
And we don't need to put, well, say correctly, we need to put money into dealing with the fires, but we also need to put even more money into preventing the fires. You know, forest management, upgrading equipment for firefighters, what we can do from the federal end to aid when you get these huge fires and you're looking at acres and acres and acres burning. Why aren't we helping out these states,
Mhm.
California, Oregon, Washington? You know, when entire neighborhoods burn to the ground, something's got to be done. And we need to put some money into that and help um, fix that with, I mean, this is all part of the climate change thing. And there are those that deny it. But you know what? I'll tell you what, let your house burn down.
Mhm.
Find a place to live, 5 minutes after you turn the TV on.
Mm.
I mean, I literally had one of my office mates, he turned around and I guess he was throwing a private party and somebody had left, forgot her purse, and she came back. If she didn't, they were sleeping in the side of the house that caught fire and blew up. They literally were on the other end and going out the front door when their house caught fire.
Gee.
And these fires out here on the West Coast, they're swift, they're brutal, and they're merciless. They just eat whatever's in their path.
Mhm.
And a lot of families on the West Coast, and it's going to happen, on the East Coast too, if we don't manage these things.
I agree, yeah. I It's very frightening to watch all this play out. I mean, you see these fires on TV, and they are way out of control, and there's not enough people to put them out.
Right. And we can manage that better if we have elected officials that get in there, roll their sleeves up, and start putting the issue on the table, start bringing together, the team that needs to be assembled to deal with stuff like that. Um, it's the only way to fix it. You don't put somebody in the EPA that wants to gut the EPA. You put somebody in the EPA that wants to manage the beauty of this great country. I've driven across this country at least 3 times, from Maine to California, from Jersey to California, and from Florida to California. Um, and I tell you, we live in the greatest nation on earth. It's one of the most beautiful places, I've ever seen anywhere in any pictures.
Mhm.
And it's worth fighting for. It's worth this kind of candidacy. And I want to be that guy.
Mhm.
So I'm announcing that I'm going to, put in what I need to do and get the proper paperwork in. And we're going to set up for a run for Congress. And God willing, by the people and for the people, I will get elected as a representative and we can start to, do something about these various issues and those that I'm not even aware of yet, because in the district, going out there, getting to know what's going on and want to be informed and effective representative of the people.
And you and I were talking earlier, the oil production is just increasing. And why should our gas keep going up when it doesn't have to?
Oh, I agree. Matter of fact, here's a prime example. And I used to haul gasoline because I was a truck driver some years ago. We here in California have like 3 refineries in this general area, yet we have the highest gas prices in the nation. I know 18 cents of it is federal tax, and I believe about 51 or 52 cents of it is state tax. And where's this money going? Because it's not doing anything for the highways here. Um, I just
Uh,
something has to be done about it, because also we're going to repeat the history of the George W. Bush presidency.
mhm,
Now, I don't agree with George on many things, but the one thing I will never do is call him un-American. He just, dealt with what he felt was his constituency, and it ended up raising gas prices out of the $2.10 range up over $3. And people were making life decisions at the pump. Do I have money to put gas in the car and get to work, or pay my home? We
mhm,
had a record number of foreclosures. And, everybody, thought about Obama getting elected. But what did Obama do? He, in 8 years, turned it around methodically, brought back the economy. He gave Trump an economy that was, growing when he got in office.
mhm,
And then unfortunately, the pandemic happened, which was mismanaged to an extent by both parties.
mhm,
Um, we had points where we were all locked in our homes for a while.
mhm,
And a lot of people went out of business. A lot of big companies went out of business. And then we're coming out of that pandemic, and now we're going to deal with Russian aggression and war because they feel we're weak,
mhm.
and that running up our gas prices and crashing our economy is something Vladimir Putin wants to do. And I just, for the life of me, cannot understand how you got people in the news like Tucker Carlson repeating Russian talking points. Maybe it's because he's got that salary he's got and can afford the gas prices.
Mm,
But I'll tell you what, on my home, I'm sure your home, we don't have money like that.
mhm,
It's a difference of, am I going to be able to buy, steak or pizza, or do I got to settle for top ramen this week just to get gas to go to work?
mhm.
And with me, you're looking at a guy, I put thousands of miles on my car with my business. That's all I do is go out and hunt people down for the court system.
Mhm,
So I know my business is going to feel it, and I can't raise my prices much more because I'm going to start to put myself out of business because
mhm.
people won't be able to afford what I do. So it's something we seriously need to do. I mean, what are the gas prices like there in Pennsylvania right now? I mean, you're in
Oh,
Western Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area.
mhm. 365 a gallon. That's what I just saw.
365, 469 a gallon yesterday on the way to the concert.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And I've seen it here over $5 a gallon.
Mhm,
And once they get those prices and those oil companies start getting those profits, ain't going to go away unless we do something about it.
right.
So there's going to come a point where we're going to need to discuss with, whoever's our president at the time, regulations on the oil industry,
Mhm,
because we can't keep allowing foreigners to dictate our economy. We're America. We're the big bad boy on the block. We are number one. We don't have to make America great again. America's already great.
mhm,
What we need to do is just fix our issues.
mhm,
Like any family has, we got some issues,
mhm,
but it can be fixed if we team up together and do something about it. And we do not tolerate autocracies. We do not, it needs to be a melding pot of everyone.
mhm.
Can't stress that enough. Future forward together.
That's great. I wish there were more out there like you. People
Well, it
that
starts with one.
right, right. And, people that have been through this, as you said, as we talked earlier, the court system and how we need this family law bill of rights. We really need that.
We do, and and I'm getting together a group of, the people that have really been fighting in the family law fight here. I want to get together a group of us. We have a basic framework, but I want to start to, work it into something we can take to legislature to enact as a law,
Mhm.
because it is sorely needed across the board.
Mhm.
Um, Another thing you might appreciate in there when talking about that, because we all know family court costs us all so much money to go through it.
Mhm.
With my candidacy, I want simple, everyday American donations. I'm happy with the $20 bill
Mhm.
coming in with Mark Andrews for Congress. You
Mhm.
know, give up 3 coffees to put one of our own in office, to
Mhm.
fight for a family law bill of rights, to fight for decent gas prices, to fight for water for the valley, to fight against um, Russian talking points being uttered by American politicians.
Mhm.
These are all things that we can affect when we put our own candidates in there. It needs to stop just being failed judges and lawyers that ascend to political positions. And then, for the next 20, 30 years, they're the politician.
Mhm.
I believe that old school thing where you go in politics to serve like you do in the military. 2 years, 4 years, whatever your service times. Then you go back to your plow, they used to say. You go
Mhm.
back to your job. You go back to what you're doing. And I want to serve the people, spend my time in service, and I'm going to come back to my business and do things.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the way I want to run things. And I think America can appreciate that. I think the congressional district in California can appreciate that. And I think with that, I can run a successful candidacy to be their representative in the U.S. Congress.
That's excellent. I wish you the best of luck. I wanna see you win. We need more decent people winning.
Amen. And thank you for having me on your show to announce this, because you are the show that I'm announcing this on. I appreciate your audience and your time. I want to thank you for the privilege of their time listening in on your podcast and my platforms and what I'm fighting for as a congressional candidate. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Now, when people send their donations, you want them sending it, and I'll have this in the podcast notes, but at 1600 Sacramento INN Way, Suite 226, Sacramento, California, 95815. So I will
Yes,
put
currently
that.
I'm going to.
Oh, go ahead.
Let's say currently I'm going to use my Sacramento office to receive those until we have a office for the candidacy in the San Joaquin Valley, because I will be running that out of the Stockton area.
Mhm.
We're setting all that up right now. We went out and spoken to the Register of Voters. We got to talk to the Federal Election Commission so we could set up the banking and do everything properly. Um,
Mhm.
I want to do it right,
Mhm.
because the fights that we're looking for me to fight need to be done right. You need to cross the I's, you need to dot the T's, or
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
you know what I mean. I
Yeah.
want to make sure that, it's not something they could, I'm not going to be a candidate that's going to be easily swayed or pushed around. I
Mhm.
want to be a candidate by the people and for the people, period.
That's excellent. That's what we all need to hear as a candidate that is going to be for them, and that they could write to you and get a letter back, an answer back to their question
Yes,
or problem.
by all means. But aside from donations, if you have any letters, suggestions, by all means, please send them. Again, Mark Andrews for Congress, 1600 Sacramento Inn Way, Suite 226 in Sacramento, California, 95815.
Now, I know you run the podcast, I Am the Storm. Um, do you have, like, if people wanna email you, what did you change your email address at all?
I haven't gotten one for the candidacy yet. Mine
Mhm.
has always been not to be taken away at live.com. So if anybody wants to send me anything for now until we have all the political stuff set up, I'm more than welcome stuff in there, and I will answer emails and things.
Great, great. Is there
See,
anything else you'd
I'm the anti-politician. I'm not a seasoned politician.
Mhm.
But what I am is I am a citizen that's willing to serve the American people. We got Katie Porter down in Orange County is like that.
Mhm.
I have a deep respect for her, and we need more people like that in our leadership that is willing to stand up to what's wrong
Mhm.
and say this needs to be fixed.
Right. Also, Kimberly Lowe in Virginia, she's also
Yes,
running.
I've talked to Kimberly before, another fine Republican candidate over there in Virginia. Um, and again, another one who was a citizen standing up for
Mhm.
what citizens want.
Mhm.
So um, we hope that she does well out there. And we need to funnel out this old guard that thinks political positions are a career path. Come, serve your time, and then be a positive influence on America.
Definitely, and not drag out your career and then, you're getting, was it 2 pensions that they're getting, some of them? Um, I don't know. I mean.
Well, the pension ain't the big thing. What I found, um, we were mentioning earlier about the bill. We're talking about supporting President Biden's Build Back Better, and San Joaquin Valley can't get water out of the federal government, but Nancy Pelosi got a $280 million park right next to her property, so she gets a tax deduction. How is
Mhm.
that? How is that?
Yeah.
I do
Oh.
not understand that. How is it that Kristen Sinema, and granted, because like I said, I lean Democratic, so I look at the Democratic people that I'm going to be serving with. Kristen Sinema took so much money from the pharmaceutical companies. How is she then again voting against lowering drug prices?
Mhm.
I'd like to speak to 100 seniors in her district. Well, y'all want to pay more for drugs?
Mhm.
None of them are going to say yes, but their leader took money, which they say that's the only way to get elected is money.
Mm.
I believe in the American people. I may not run the biggest money campaign. I may
Mhm.
not be in the biggest money district, but I believe a group of Americans coming together and are tired of the same old, and they want change. They want something done. You know, I agree with what Donald Trump sold. He sold America first. The
Mhm.
problem is when you found out what Donald gave you, it was a flaming bag of dog poop on your porch.
Mhm.
Donald was there for Donald and Donald's money and the people that he made money with. He wasn't there for all the American people like they thought. And that's the sad thing, is because America needs candidates that are there for America first.
Mhm.
We need to get back on top. We've been weakened by what we've been through.
Mhm.
And I feel with more people stepping up for office, getting in there and serving Americans and American interests, we can turn this thing back right where we were before that, to an economy that's booming, being the world leader in whatever we do,
Mhm.
and serving the world as a positive influence.
Mhm. And I like what you said, that it should be a candidate that is not a seasoned lawyer politician. It should be the common man running a campaign for the people and by the people, and also looking after our greatest, treasure, which is the future of our children.
Yeah. Why do we always take money out of schools when it comes to politics?
Mhm.
I think we should put more money into schools. We need, there shouldn't be a poor school district anywhere in America. This is America, you know? Kids should be able to get internet, get computers, you
Mhm.
know, because we don't want just a bunch of mindless drones that are going
Mhm.
to be a workforce for the few rich people that are going to own the corporations.
Mhm.
We need a workforce and an innovative force. I mean, here's a great what if. What if there's some kid in kindergarten right now, and with a little more money in the schooling system, a little more positive, thing with teachers and curriculum, and he's the kid that cures cancer.
Mm-hmm.
because it's out there. There's going to be some young person. I hope it's an American kid. I hope it's an American kid who's been through the American school system.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that we can support that all as, again, we come back to our family bill of rights, our families. There isn't
Mm-hmm.
a single one of us that there isn't something there we wouldn't do for our children, but we keep electing leaders that strip the education system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said.
We can strip things, we can strip things elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm so glad you had time to come on. And I know you're busy. I won't keep you much further, but I will have you back on the podcast. And, you know, don't jump off. Okay.
Okay. No.
Slam it.
Thank you again for having me on your podcast. I greatly appreciate it. I thank your audience for the privilege of their time. Um, any support I can get anywhere across the country for this type of candidacy, please. All I'm asking for is a couple cups of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be the hugest donation, but let's get it out there and get one of our own elected to a leadership position so we can start encouraging more people to do that.
Definitely. Definitely. Someone with some morals. And I totally thank you, Mark Andrews. So don't jump off. Slam the Gavel is a
All right.
podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again here with Mark in the future and other exciting guests. Thank you again, Mark Andrews.
Thank you, Marianne. Have a good day.
You too.